What's going on, everyone? So, we got an update thanks to Deadline about the Halloween TV series. So, the Halloween TV series will be creative reset completely and will be going back to the original film. So, obviously, it doesn't tell us a ton of information. Like, is this going to be kind of a requel? Because it just says it goes back to the original film. So, is this going to be like a sequel? Is this going to be a continuation? Right? We know Jamie Lee Curtis is supposed to be done reprising the role of Laurie Strode. Are they going to kind of pick up back with Laurie Strode? Personally, and this is just me, and of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. I think that they should stay as far away from that as possible. I think it's time to kind of reset the franchise and just tell a new, fun, creative story, right? Like, let's get back to basics a little bit here, right? Like, we don't have to go far left field, right? Like, we just saw that with a trilogy and it didn't go very well, right? Like, Halloween 18 was about as close to back to basics of Michael Myers as it got, and that was pretty unanimously like, okay, that was a good film. Halloween Kills kind of went a little out of the way, and that was kind of mixed, right? Many people love Halloween Kills, many people dislike it. I thought it was kind of just this rambled mess personally. I love the idea of like Michael Myers and, kind of going through his greatest hits and just kind of running through this town. I just thought it got a little carried away and a little silly and just kind of teetered the line of like, paranormal, supernatural style, like Michael Myers to like a trying to keep it within reality. And one of the things that I've always liked is that it's always left the mystery, right? Like there are moments where you're like, okay, is he more than a man? Right? Like we just kept hearing like, oh, he's just a guy. But the movie showed otherwise. Like he clearly wasn't just a guy. And yet they kept trying to tell us otherwise. Like I loved the original where it's like what really makes him tick, right? Like all of the questions that Michael always seemed to leave you. And it's like every time that they've tried to like explain stuff, it doesn't go well because it doesn't need explaining. Leave it to the audience. Let the audience depict their own personal reasons for X, Y, and Z rather than trying to give this just like monster a relatable story. It's silly to me. And then you saw Halloween Ends just completely go like, hey, not even left. Like they just, I don't know, they went up and into space. Like they just flipped it upside down on its head, and it became like pretty unanimous that like, hey, like that was a terrible film. Like very few people like that. But like I know people that are like love every Halloween film except for that film. Like, they're like, oh, Halloween can do no wrong. And then they saw Halloween Ends and were like, okay, I guess they can. Because it was silly. To me, it's like, what made Halloween so successful? It was so basic. I mean, even from the behind the scenes filming aspect of it, it was so basic and straightforward, right? Like, I mean, you had, I mean, Michael was almost hardly in the film, but it just was portrayed. It was this constant. The setting was always great. It was this constant, just like eerie sense of like he's always there. He's always lurking. Every time somebody goes around the corner, it's like it just built natural suspense. It was just such a basic structure, and all of the ones that many people seem to consensus being like, hey, this was good, appear to be just the basic, like, here's the straightforward ones, right? Like, even like things like Halloween H2O, right? It's like, that was great. It was simple. Like, it's whatever it was, 20 years or whatever, and Laurie's, living her best life. I get it was a Laurie film and Jamie Lee Curtis, but it was just kind of like, hey, like, I ran away, I created a new life to get away from Michael, And yet here we are. And then it's like in Halloween 2, they try to like explain Michael as like it's just every time they try to add to stuff, it takes away from what inherently makes it so successful. So to me, again, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. So let me know down in the comments. But to me, it's like, let's just have Michael in Haddonfield or elsewhere or whatever and tell a new story in this anthology almost, right? Like create a new chapter in the Michael Myers book, right? Like the main character doesn't have to be Laurie played by a different actress, right? Like you don't need to go the Rob Zombie route, right? Like just at the end of the day, most of us just want Michael Myers being Michael Myers, right? Give us some good actors and actresses, give us some good kills, give us a good story, and we're good. Like, what more do you need from a Halloween series, right? Like, to me, I love the idea of adapting these classic horror franchises into series because you can do and flush out so much more, right? Like, at the end of the day, a film can only be so long, right? Like, you can only do so many hours of a movie to where, you have to basically compact the story into 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes, right? In some rare cases, 3 hours, but like it has to be a very specific film for that. It's kind of hard to make like I think it would be very hard to make like a Halloween movie 3 hours, but you could do that with a series, right? A series you can make 10, 15, 20 hours. Like you can stretch it as long as you need. Today's modern series, it usually is like 8 to 10 episodes, but that gives you 8 to 10 hours as opposed to 2. So you can kind of take your time in developing characters and telling a convincing story. So to me, I think that this is a real opportunity for Halloween to do that. Set the tone, keep the eeriness, keep the allure, keep the suspense that is so easy to maintain with a Michael Myers type figure who's always lurking, and you just have him subtly popping up in random places, and have some good, convincing, lovable characters. Have your lead protagonist, whoever that is, right? And just let's get back to simplicity. Sometimes the simple answer is the correct answer. Sometimes the best answer is the simplistic answer. And it's like there's some things that you don't need to necessarily big brain all the time. That you don't need to necessarily overthink. And to me, Halloween is one of those things. Right? Like keep it simple. Keep it what it is. Like you don't need to have some crazy new fresh take on Halloween to where it's like, oh my God, like, man, like Michael all of a sudden is an alien from Pluto. Like you don't need any of that craziness. Like cut out all the noise, in my opinion. Let's just get back to Michael. Let's get back to allowing the audience to determine things and have the debates and have the conversations and leave the mysteries the mysteries. Like what makes Michael tick? Why is he doing it? Is it just he's insanity? Is he possessed? Is it this darkness? Is he just a crazy like those are the kind of things that make things so terrifying. Say it all the time. You can't there's crazy is crazy. You can't justify or explain crazy. So let things just be crazy. Let Michael be Michael. Give us some awesome kills, some awesome sequences. Tell a convincing story. Keep it in the base of realism, right? Like, has Michael always kind of been a supernatural force in many ways? Yes. But originally, it wasn't so in your face. It wasn't so like, oh, you have an entire mob stomping him out and taking his life, and yet here he is, he's fine now, and he just ran through the town again. Like, or, like he gets his whole hand blown out, now he's fine. Like, there's just so many things that, like, they just continuously seem to just try to take a sharp left. It's silly to me. Keep it simple. Keep him who he is. Tell a good story, build good characters. To me, it's a simple idea. I don't understand why it needs to be so complex. We don't need to have Laurie Strode in it anymore. We don't need to have, let that story be its story. Let that be done. Let's move on. Let's go a different direction. Hey, look, there's this opportunity over here. I think that they have a real opportunity. I mean, they could turn Michael Myers into an anthology series and tell a new story forever. And you just have Michael Myers, and it's constantly a new story with new characters and whatever. And that's essentially what all these other various timelines are. And some of them are good, some of them aren't. Usually the ones that are perceived well are kind of closer to the original than not. So keep it that way. Keep it fresh. Again, you don't have to big brain everything. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are you somewhere in between? How are your thoughts? What do you want to see? Do you think that they should go with the Laurie story and expand on that? Do you think, no, just tell a new, fresh story? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribed to the channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.